Australia, a veritable colossus of agriculture and the world's breadbasket, is defined by its vast, sun-drenched grasslands that generate well over $90 billion annually, supplying crucial global markets. Yet, this prosperity is currently overshadowed by a painful paradox. The nation's most vital resource, the land itself, is deteriorating at an alarming and unprecedented rate. Decades of intensive, large-scale farming have stripped Australian soil of over 60% of its essential organic matter. Consequently, an additional 4 million hectares succumb to severe degradation every single year. When the productive capacity of the land collapses, it threatens more than just crop yields. Australia's fundamental food security and its hard-won economic standing begin to shake violently. In a desperate bid for survival, the country pursued every conceivable solution to rescue its precious topsoil. All conventional attempts failed, however, until scientists stumbled upon an unexpected solution hidden in plain sight: leftover sheep wool. The central question then becomes, how did this simple wool waste manage to turn the tide for the planet's driest inhabited continent? Today I will reveal all aspects of this fascinating story. Welcome to Australia, a continental nation boasting more than 427 million hectares dedicated to agriculture, a territory so immense it was long considered invulnerable. For generations, it has symbolized the prosperity of the southern hemisphere's grasslands, a place where fields stretch boundlessly to the horizon and livestock production feeds the world. But look deeper, and a starkly different reality unfolds beneath the veneer of greenery. Australia's life-giving land is in fact dying, deteriorating so rapidly that it has become a profound source of national alarm. In New South Wales, historically the engine room of the nation's agriculture, levels of soil organic carbon plummeted by an additional 3.1% in just 14 years, spanning from 2006 to 2020. This systemic loss means the soil is rapidly losing its critical ability to retain water, its capacity to hold the necessary nutrients for microorganisms, and the very vitality upon which profitable crops depend. In harsher, more arid regions like Western Australia, the wind doesn't just lift dust, it actively strips away the very soil of the failing farming industry. At its worst, wind erosion has been recorded removing up to 1.8 tons of soil per hectare annually. This means a layer of soil that required hundreds of years to form can disappear after only a few strong gusts. Across the continent, once flourishing fields are now transforming into a dry, burnt red, the unmistakable color of aggressive desertification. Over 6 million hectares are currently classified as facing an extremely high risk of wind erosion. Simultaneously, another 3.2 million hectares are crumbling from water-induced degradation. In Queensland, desperation has forced many farming families to abandon plots that once sustained them entirely, simply because the soil structure has disintegrated and can no longer hold enough moisture to survive a growing season. But the land is not the only crucial Australian sector facing collapse. Parallel to the exhaustion of the soil, another iconic national industry is struggling: the wool trade. Australia reigned for decades as the world's undisputed wool kingdom, where its merino sheep generated enormous revenue, with export value surpassing $4 billion each year. Yet, over the past 2 decades, global demand has declined, processing factories have shuttered, and raw wool prices have drastically plummeted, often leaving thousands of farming households without sufficient profit just to maintain their flocks. Forecasts for the 2024 to 2025 period alone predict national wool production will drop to a mere 279 million kilograms, more than 12% lower than the preceding year. This crisis results in an estimated 200,000 tons of waste wool accumulating on farms annually. It is unwanted, unsellable, and virtually useless. For the farmers, this waste is a costly burden. Proper disposal is expensive, and if left to decompose naturally outdoors, a fleece can take 3 to 5 years to fully break down. And then from these seemingly useless, discarded piles of wool, however, a radical new direction began to emerge: restoring soil health using wool. It sounds almost absurd, but this is precisely what Australia has successfully achieved. When scientists brought samples of this wool waste into the laboratory, they discovered that wool fibers possess a structure that is nearly perfect for soil regeneration. Each wool strand is covered in keratin scales capable of holding 1.5 to 2 times its own dry weight in water, while simultaneously creating tiny, vital air pockets that allow oxygen to seep into the soil, a component Australia's depleted soils desperately lack. But the most stunning realization was the speed of the transformation. In early trials conducted in New South Wales, when just a few centimeters of wool were spread over degraded soil, surface evaporation decreased by up to 35%. Furthermore, soil moisture remained stable for nearly twice as long as it did with conventional organic mulch. After just a few months, soil microbial density, which had been severely diminished by years of cultivation, increased dramatically by 30% to 50%, kickstarting an entirely new cycle of recovery. This meant wetter soil, faster formation of crucial organic matter, and crops beginning to regain a secure foothold. On abandoned plots in Queensland, where disheartened farmers had watched the earth crack open from its inability to retain a single drop of water, experimental wool mulch delivered a surprising reversal. After only a single dry season of application, many households reported significantly improved moisture retention, the complete cessation of topsoil being blown away by wind, and, most critically, the recovery of fundamental soil structure. The land was no longer brittle, red dust, but had once again become friable, crumbly soil, immediately ready for planting. Despite these incredible benefits, wool cannot simply be dumped onto fields in its raw state. Do you know why? The answer lies in the very structure of the fiber. When left unprocessed, it tends to clump into impenetrable, thick mats, decomposes far too slowly, and ironically makes it difficult for water to permeate the soil below. To fully unlock its regenerative potential, the material must be properly treated. This necessity led directly to the creation of wool pellets and wool compost. Wool pellets represent a refined application of waste wool. The fiber is ground up and highly compressed into small granules that can be mixed directly into the soil. Thanks to the keratin structure, which naturally expands and contracts with moisture, each pellet effectively operates like a biological water battery. It rapidly absorbs water when the soil is saturated, stores it internally, and gradually releases it back as the environment begins to dry. This clever mechanism helps the soil retain vital moisture 25% to 40% longer, significantly easing irrigation stress in Australia's hot, arid climates. While wool pellets primarily address the challenge of moisture retention, wool compost serves the vital role of long-term soil nourishment. When sheep wool is composted alongside beneficial microorganisms and other organic matter, the keratin slowly breaks down, releasing a continuous, steady source of essential nutrients, including nitrogen, sulfur, organic carbon, and trace minerals. As a result, soil microbial density increases again by 30% to 50% in just a few months, creating the ideal conditions for the soil to begin regenerating its own health. Wool compost also dramatically improves soil looseness and its capacity for heat retention, helping the soil better withstand prolonged heat waves. In many testing regions, the simple addition of wool compost has helped increase crop yields by 12% to 18% without the need for additional chemical fertilizers. The dramatic impact of sheep wool does not cease at the revitalized fields. As the soil health begins to improve, another unexpected development is taking place. The wool industry, once struggling and mired in crisis, is suddenly experiencing an unforeseen rebound. The fibers that once cost money to discard have now become desirable raw materials that every processing factory is eager to acquire. In 2024 alone, the state of Victoria witnessed the emergence of more than 40 wool recycling startups, generating approximately 2,500 new jobs in vital rural areas. From every ton of waste wool, specialized workshops can now produce nearly 900 kilograms of wool pellets, a manufactured material valued at 3 times the price of raw, unprocessed wool. Something that was once categorized as waste has now transformed into a multi-million-dollar product line, successfully sustaining an entire new business ecosystem. Crucially, Australia is not the only country to recognize this transformative potential. Just across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand, which is home to over 25 million sheep, is adopting the same approach, and the results are manifesting faster than many experts anticipated. On coastal farms, where sandy soils are typically dry, highly compacted, and poor at retaining moisture, blending in wool mulch has helped the ground maintain hydration 20% to 30% longer. On the basalt fields of the North Island, researchers have documented the rapid return of beneficial soil microorganisms just months after incorporating the wool. This is the first definitive sign that the land is beginning to fully breathe again. These immediate positive signals quickly inspired the Kiwi business community. In Wellington, the startup Woolchemy developed cutting-edge technology that converts waste wool into biopolymer granules with remarkable water-holding capacity, opening up an entirely new avenue of agricultural application. In Marlborough, the country's globally renowned wine region, growers use wool as a ground cover and have successfully reduced their overall irrigation needs by up to 25% during prolonged dry months. For New Zealanders, wool was historically just a textile material. Now, however, it is rapidly becoming a vital key to sustainable agriculture, mirroring the incredible developments unfolding in Australia. In the United States, where the domestic sheep industry is significantly smaller than that of Australia or New Zealand, wool is playing a completely different yet equally important role. The issue is not primarily excess wool, but rather meeting the specialized needs of the farmers themselves. They are strongly committed to organic farming practices but lack stable, natural nutrient sources that can reliably replace conventional chemical fertilizers. It is into this crucial gap that wool has stepped, taking on the unexpected role of an organic soil amendment. On certified organic farms across California, Colorado, and Vermont, growers have started incorporating wool pellets into the soil not primarily to combat severe drought, but to create a reliable, slow-release nitrogen source that organic crops characteristically lack. The results proved surprising and highly beneficial. After 2 months, soil analyses demonstrated 15% to 22% less nitrogen leaching, while soil moisture levels remained stable 18% to 25% longer compared with standard control fields. Thus, in the U.S., wool does more than just improve the soil, it helps protect the credibility of an entire agricultural sector. In an environment where every fertilizer product must rigorously prove its origin, purity, and sustainability, wool pellets have emerged as a rare, highly valued solution that satisfies all criteria. It is no surprise they have quickly become a new label of quality for American organic agriculture. In California, many progressive farms now prominently print the phrase, "grown with wool pellets," directly on their produce packaging. But the narrative in the United States does not conclude with wool-based fertilizers. Once people began to view sheep as an integral part of a comprehensive ecological solution, innovative new models began to emerge rapidly. The most visually striking of these is solar grazing, sheep utilized to manage vegetation on massive solar farms. In Texas, where solar energy fields stretch across hundreds of low-lying hectares, mowing grass beneath thousands of panels was traditionally an expensive and technically risky maintenance task. But sheep perform the job better than any machine ever could. Sheep efficiently clear low-growing vegetation without causing any damage to sensitive wiring or panel frames. Furthermore, their manure adds essential natural nutrients back into the soil, and the shade provided by the panels helps the ground retain crucial moisture, allowing beneficial grasses and soil microorganisms to fully recover. Numerous farms report reducing their reliance on chemical fertilizers by up to 70% and slashing maintenance costs by half compared with traditional mowing methods. The model has proven so effective that the U.S. energy sector is now proactively partnering directly with sheep farmers. Flocks once raised exclusively for wool or meat have transitioned into specialized ecological maintenance workers, actively helping restore soils, boost regional biodiversity, and reduce operational CO2 emissions simply by grazing on grass. In certain states, such as Colorado and California, studies have shown that sheep grazing solar fields can help restore local vegetation 2 to 3 times faster than conventional management practices. Farmers earn supplementary income from grazing services, energy companies significantly reduce their operational costs, and delicate semi-arid ecosystems are revived beneath high-tech solar panels. Agriculture, energy production, and environmental restoration have converged in an unexpected but powerful way. What is particularly remarkable is how quickly this model is spreading. In just a few short years, the number of solar grazing projects across the United States has tripled, giving rise to an entirely new service industry of professional grazing crews who manage land ecologically and efficiently. The success of waste sheep wool is far more than an Australian story. It is a signal to a world facing increasing drought. From the Sahel in Africa to the Middle East, this humble material once dismissed as waste may hold a key to sustainable agriculture. Sometimes, the most powerful solutions to the planet's greatest challenges come from the simplest materials. Can a single strand of wool truly change the world?